Yeah, what I thought I'd do tonight is just give a quick rundown on the classes and the type of things we cover, the areas of photography we kind of deal with specifically, and then show you some work that some students have actually just finished handing in quite recently, which is the final folio. So I did graduate in 99 too, I must say. I didn't start at 99, but I did go through the college and do the class, and then come out, graduate, go overseas, come back and work, as I was saying before, for Fairfax for 20 years, which in the media industry is quite a long career. I've been teaching at the college now for coming up on 10 years. So I don't consider myself a teacher. I'm more of a photographer who likes to impart my knowledge of photography as well. So yeah, so the way that we teach in the first 20-week program that Lindy's talking about there is that we really kind of drill down on the specifics of photography. So the one thing that we're quite good at is that when you come to the college, depending on level of photography that you actually have, we do kind of break it down to its simplest and kind of start from there. So in any class that I've had people who have been shooting weddings for 2 or 3 years, sitting next to people who are picking up their camera for the first time ever. And it's really kind of, you think it wouldn't work, but it actually does. So what we do is we break it down to its simplest and we kind of build from that perspective. And the way that I kind of look at it too is that photography comes from two streams. There's kind of the technical side of photography and the creative side of photography. And every single photographer that I've ever met in my journey either falls into one of two of those categories. They understand the camera and everything about it, but don't know how to apply it creatively. Or they're really creative and they don't quite know how to actually make the camera do what they want to do. So when we look at, teaching photography, we really do kind of focus on those two specific areas and teach, the technical aesthetics and also then the actual creative side of it as well. For me, I came to the college with no understanding whatsoever of the camera, and that was taught to me. And I always sort of maintained my ideas and the concepts that I wanted to produce through photography. And then once I learned the creative side of it, I could apply that hand in glove with the knowledge that I was kind of building up as well. So by the end of the course, people who started always say, I thought I knew everything about photography, and then I started the course and I just didn't know as much as I knew I didn't know, which makes sense when you kind of think of it. But when we go through, we kind of really do teach that and break it down and kind of build it up towards the end. So the end of the 20-week program that I teach, the final assignment is a folio, and that folio is broken up into different genres of photography. So we also get you out and about, really trying a lot of different areas of photography and honestly trying to get you outside your comfort zone a little bit as well, and trying to do some things in photography that maybe you didn't think you wanted to, and then kind of branched into that. Now, with COVID, obviously, we've all had to adjust and look at different ways of facilitating this learning process. And to be honest, I think it's been actually a really good thing. People have had to learn to look inwards. The one thing I say is that you can always go to an interesting place and take an interesting photo, but to turn the camera on your own environment and your own life, I think is far more challenging. So a lot of my students have been showing me work and showing the class work that's been really personal to them because it's all they've had access to. So I'm getting really familiar with people's suburbs and surrounds in lockdown. So that's a good thing, I'd imagine. What I thought I might do is to show you guys some work that previous students have done. As I said, the last couple of weeks, we've had some folio submissions, but just a quick one. This is actually just my website here. Oh, not that one. Well, it is as well, The Age, but I'm not going to spruik them. So just a quick thing. This is the kind of work that I do. So my type of work that I do is kind of features-based lighting. So it's news story stuff, but with lighting on location. So if my internet here in sunshine. Yeah, so this kind of thing, which is more you'd see in the back of the newspaper or in the magazines or the supplements and stuff like that. So I teach camera craft because, and I teach natural lighting because I want students to have a deeper understanding of natural lighting. And we don't touch flash in the first 20 weeks because we really break down what light means, how to capture light and how to use it as well. So yeah, that's kind of, I mean, you can have a look at those later on if you want, but what I thought you'd get more interest out of is students' work. So this is some folio work that some of my students have done recently. And what I'll do is I'll just play through this and you guys can kind of look as it goes through. So we do kind of break it off into subgenres. So we cover portraiture, we cover landscape, we cover still life photography, and also personal expression, where you guys as photographers put together a series of images that relate to a specific topic that you kind of are passionate about and that kind of drives you with photography. You are always out shooting. We try and build into the classes a lot of actual practical elements to it. So we talk about something like a shutter speed and then go out and try and use that technique to try and create a certain aesthetic within the photography as well. So homework during the week is to take photos. Some weeks you'll have a lot more time to do that. Other weeks you may be a little bit skint. So it ebbs and flows with life, and we kind of try and facilitate life around what you're doing. But I don't get you to go out and write any essays. It's just taking photos. So you go out during the week and take photos, and then you come back to class the next week and we look at your work. And for me, I think that's the most important part of that whole process, is to have your work looked at by not just me, but other class members as well. And that idea of showing your work and getting feedback about, what's really working, what could use improvement, and also starting to drill down onto the type of style of photography that you might be sort of working towards as well. So that's the biggest benefit that I've always found. And when you get that chance to have your work critiqued by other photographers, it's quite validating. If you've ever been to the AIPP judgings or any camera club judgings where people get to talk about those images, you learn a lot more from that than anything else, I find. And it's funny, the first couple of weeks that we have those review processes, they always go really, really quickly, where people are too sort of frightened to say anything. But by the end of the semester, we're talking for 30 minutes on one photo about, the deep semantical debates about what it kind of constitutes and what it means for the photographer. So that process is really, really important. And early days, everyone tries to show their best photos, but I think you learn from showing sometimes the photos that haven't worked out as well. And with Zoom, actually, Zoom's been really good, because when photographers are showing their work, we can actually look at the whole photo shoot and sort of see their workings up to the image that they kind of want to present, and say, well, you tried this and maybe next time try that. So it's been a really interesting take on how to kind of facilitate that process as well. So are there any questions? Does anyone have anything? I have a tendency to kind of talk a bit.
Yeah, I guess the one thing that a course like this will help me with is that I'm finding under low light and at the long end of the lens, focus is a problem. Something that it's really challenging me at the moment.
Well, we had one of my students in the last class. He's a detective senior sergeant in Victoria Police, completely unrelated to the work that I do for them. And he would go over to LA and take shots all the time. And he went over 3 or 4 times, and he came and did the course. And within the first 2 weeks, he understood what he'd been doing wrong for all that period of time. And it was just, he wasn't using his ISO correctly. And it's funny that he kind of said, I can't take photos in low light. But once we kind of gave him the knowledge of what the camera was doing, he goes, well, now I've got to book a flight back to LA and undo all that work that he's been doing over there with their police. So sometimes it's specific needs like that kind of drive this idea of why you'd want to do upskilling with this course, and that's kind of what we tailor it to as well. And I think the flexibility of learning is great, because you can really learn those specific things. Like I said before, I don't class myself as a teacher. I'm a photographer, and the classes that we have go off on tangents because photographers want to know specific things and whatever's happening in the moment, or someone's bought a new camera and they've got questions, and these questions kind of evolve into a lot of things that people want to know, and the classes become think tanks for people sounding out ideas and sounding out techniques, which I think is far more organic and far more conducive for learning than kind of reading out of a book or something. So that's the way that I always structure my classes as well. Cool. Yeah, so the way we run the classes, if it's a Wednesday night, it's a 3-hour class. The first part of the class will be a 1.5-hour lecture based on the topic du jour around photography. And the second part of the class is always the image review section of it as well. Like Lindy's saying, the classes are online, and once we move back through to stage 3, I'd imagine we'll be doing or offering classes at site at the campus as well, our brand new campus. If for some reason you can't actually make the class online or in person, we do put all the information that we cover in class up onto our website server, which we can actually access and go through all the classes that you may have missed, or any of the documentation that you want to revise as well. So everything that we teach in class goes up online, so you can go back at your own leisure and review notes and maybe go over something that you thought you may have missed. I always make myself available before class, just to cover off if you've missed anything as well. Always happy to have a chat sort of one-on-one if you've sort of missed something in the class and just feel like you need a little bit more information. That, in my understanding, there's no such thing as a dumb question. I think if you're thinking it, other students are. So I always encourage my students to ask questions, however silly you think it may be. Someone else wants to know it as well, and I'm always happy to talk to it.